stoked to get another black Z for the time being and to get to work on, because boy is it clean. What's up guys? Today we're going to repair this Z that we just purchased. It's just a car, it's nothing, no big deal. But got this still in kit, 92 black Z32 with tan interior. Was purchased from a fellow group member that I've met and have sold to, and he's had the car for quite some time now, 20 years actually, and pretty clean, nice car. However, it's got a bad injector, so it's not running quite the best. So we've got a set of 6 old style injectors by chance. So what we're going to do is see if that fixes the issue, which I'm fairly certain that it will. So we'll just start by taking our balance tube off, all of our coil packs, fuel lines, and our throttle and cruise cables. So now that we're getting the plenum off, really it's just going to boil down to these pesky little coolant hoses right here in the back. There's one on each side and they're not fun to get to, so I'm going to work on that and try to get it while I can see with what charge I have. It's a new day to get started on her. What we're doing is we've so far removed one screw, the other one stripped, and now we're stuck looking for some vice grips that I cannot find for the life of me, and it is driving me insane. As soon as I get that off, I've got another injector right up here by my dirty brake fluid that I can throw in it, and it should fix our problem. This is how you remove your injector from the rail. I say the right way. 10 mil socket. You want it to be able to go through, but you want it to land on this metal face here so you don't damage your pintle cap. Turn it upside down. Smack it a couple times with a hammer, mallet, whatever you got. I'm using an adjustable wrench. As you can see here, it's slowly starting to wiggle out. Now that I got it somewhere solid, just like that, it's popped out of the rail. The filter might be stuck. There's our fuel injector. Nowhere in here do I get any spike where it gives any signal. I think that was from, yeah, it was from touching my prongs together. But it's very clean contact, absolutely nothing. A lot of times I get a good, actually can get a connection on the sides, but it's not looking like that here. Either way, I have more faith in this obviously than I do one that's not flickering at all. So we will put this in. There's an O-ring still down in there. Don't leave them when you're installing a new one. It's really complicated, and you'll about indefinitely pinch your new one. I'm going to dry my fuel out because I will be lubricating with oil, as I have an oil syringe here. And I use this because instead of Vaseline, because the Vaseline leaves a nasty residue behind. With this, I think the fuel dissolves the oil. Pop it in the rail a couple times. It will not always go the first time, but you don't want to force it in by screwing the caps down. You get it in as far as you can, twist it a couple times, maybe to loop the fuel rail, and then push. And you want it really ideally to pop in there. So now, next step, didn't go in. Oil it up some more. And rinse and repeat until you can manage to pop it in. So mine did not have an audible pop, but I can see that it has seated in the rail. You know, because your red cap will be about flush with the rest. And now we can go back to installing our cap. Now we're on to the more fun side of things. I'm not worrying about really replacing anything right now. Like I said, I just want to get this running, fix the injector before I pull the engine, and you know, replace every hose and all that. Timing, all maintenance, you know. So I've routed this down here to give me a little bit more clearance up here. What I'm going to do now, since I've got this little joiner pipe which comes from the bottom of the intake when you do the delete, and those sides capped, fuel rail is installed, I will be doing the coolant line delete on this plane. But what we're going to do here is just, dang, I had one there I could have used. I was looking for a hose clamp like that forever. What you'll do is remove this hard line. You can remove this hard line as well, as you will no longer need it, which I believe you remove one bolt from the idle air control valve. I'll probably just remove that and clean it because I'll have to replace the, I believe that's the fast idle control. Over here, you just remove here and here. That's it. I mean, you don't have to keep the bolts in. You don't have to cap any of these ports. I mean, you will. No, this is for your EGR and AIV. Those will still be used. Yeah, you just remove all these hoses and declutter this mess. And like I showed you, you can either cap or reroute them back around. So we've cleaned this. We've got our coolant line delete finished. Got this replaced. Now, time to drop the plenum back on, and we've got a fresh gasket. So really, it's all just plug and play. It'll be pretty simple, hopefully, as long as these EGR pipes aren't bent and off track and cause everything to be a lot harder than it should be. So we've got everything here hooked back up, tightened down. Vacuum hoses ran, all spring clamps tightened, and we'll see if it starts for one, and two if the problem's fixed. So now it has a replaced injector. What is up, everyone? Today what we're going to do is we're going to get started on our black Z, our new Z, the one we just did our fuel injectors on, to see if everything ran correctly. We've got another engine for it. I've got a bunch of brand new parts over here, new timing kit down here, well, tensioner with the rest of the kit over there. I've got spark plugs, assortment of O-rings, a whole new master hose kit, and yeah, we're gonna get to refreshing this engine more or less. and we're going to be able to switch the other one out of the car and drop this one straight in and go from there.
It's cool seeing so many different types of drivers, so many drivers at different levels, so many different cars.
Yeah, there's a really pretty sunset out. Super pink. The camera does not do it justice. Cool nonetheless. But the engine is almost torn down. Really all I've got left to do here is pull these valve covers, spark plug guides, and my VTCs, which these are some of the best VTCs I've ever seen. I don't know, they're perfect looking. No melted nastiness, nothing. We've got our injectors out, our fuel rail, all that. I've got my knock sensor out, all the rear heater pipes. Gonna get, or I already did get this cleaned up, all the old gasket off. So really, all we're stuck down to is getting the front end off. As you can see here, I'm trying to get the crank pulley off, but it's being a little difficult. So I'm gonna probably back it out, hit these threads with some PV blaster so I can get a little bit deeper with these bolts, and hopefully get this pulled off so I can get all the timing, water pump, all that jazz off. So next morning, I just drained out the oil, and I'm kind of a little iffy on how it looked in the pan. I don't know how much other contaminant got into it that maybe made it look the way it did. So we flipped it over, just bite the bullet, reseal the pan, take the time to do all this just in case it does have bad rod bearings. But I want to look at the inside of the pan and see what it looks like instead of my dirty nasty oil pan. As you can tell, they get pretty dirty for being under the motor, and it sat under there for a while. Oil poured on my stand. As you can see, it cleaned it off pretty well. I have shaved aluminum and stuff in here, so it's the only way to know for sure. I'd say pretty good news. I didn't see anything in the pan. I mean, the little bit of oil that was left in the pan was a little glittery. I didn't see anything that looked like anything out of the ordinary. I mean, granted, that might not be usual, but it could just be whatever that's been trapped in the bottom of the pan from the whole time that hasn't really cycled through. We're going to clean all this up, let this pan drain out so we don't have to worry about it leaking when we reseal it, and get them both cleaned up. That'll be quite a process, so probably in the meanwhile I'll get the rest of all my RTV spots ready to go. Our oil pan is now resealed with new oil pan seals on each side. Got us a new filter on with new oil tree gasket. Now we're going to flip it back over, and we're going to get to cleaning and pulling the valve covers off. We vacuumed out in here as good as we could with our attachments that we could. Removed our injector seats with the vacuum going, and we vacuumed out each intake port and injector port without the rag. So I'm not really sure what our luck is lately. As long as it's all good outcome, I'm cool with it. But this appears to be rebuilt. As you can see here on the cam gears, they each have some kind of listing or identification, which I assume is from it being removed to be able to be put back together. Easy. As you can see, vacuum hoses are done. Also, spark plugs are done. Car runs way better. Idle's great. I mean, it revved good, but it was still cold, so it was still idling a little funny back and forth, trying to even out. The only thing I didn't change is the line to the EGR. It's a pain in the butt. I mean, I'll just go without until I delete it. Alright, so now we're out in the Black Sea. It is running a little bit better. It is still missing a little bit, however, but I believe that has to do with the exhaust leak. So that'll be addressed when we do pull the motor, as we won't be using the same manifolds. These are pretty problematic, and we will take care of that. However, I really just wanted to get it going for the time being. I mean, it's really been driving already, but I just wanted to see if this would help it anymore. But I know this is a pretty heavy duty clutch, but the clutch does feel kind of odd. Like the pedal travel, I should say. It is very different compared to the rest of mine. So we finally got this pain in the butt of a crank seal out. The strategy, if you can tell, is I exhausted this whole side. So what I did is I used a flathead and I hit the top side of it inward to get a better bite, and then it also weakens it being stuck to the side at the same time, so it comes out easier. Took me a minute to figure it out. Check this out. Just perfect. Barely fitted in there. 4 mil. Timing belt's all tensioned. We're gonna go ahead and get our VTC caps, new springs and O-rings on. Now we can torque our exhaust cam gears, because it's such a low torque it won't move the belt when you torque them. Also, we'll set our actual torque on our tensioner, remove our stopper bolt, get our front washer, whatever you want to call it, on, and then got us replacement covers. A little easier to clean, and this one's completely boxed. And we'll get to putting our timing covers on, so then we can get to resealing our coolant bypass, resealing our coolant bypass hoses, ports, and thermostat housing, water pump, valve covers, VTCs, and then we can put it all together. We've got a lot of the annoying stuff out of the way that I really don't enjoy doing. Got us our motor mount here all tightened down, secured. We have got our valve covers on, resealed, torqued, VTCs resealed, torqued. Same for the intake valve covers. Got our cast bracket on, new water pump, water pipes all resealed and retorqued. And now we've started putting some of our PCV pipes on. We also did get our spark plug tube guides cleaned up and got some new seals, as well as lower fuel rail seals. We're going to get our alternator on with our transmission harness, our power steering pump right there, and our heater core / PCV hoses that run along here on the back. I also did forget to mention I just installed the knock sensor replacement and the upgraded sub harness. What's going on, guys? Haven't really recorded the past couple days. It's gotten brutally cold out here, and I didn't get this place insulated in time this year, so go figure. It's my own fault. But today we have got a good set of injectors now in a fuel rail and all lubed up, seated, and the fuel rail is tightened, all with good insulators and good lower seals. Set this RTV the other day, It's still a little gummy, which I hope it seals good. It'll still be another day or two before this really gets started. Really what we're up to now is finding a good plenum candidate if we want to use the one that was on this engine, or if we want to just take the one that is already on the car, since we know it works. Probably rather just do that. So now that means we get to push this to the side as all it needs: plenum on and the transmission harness, flywheel, clutch, and the engine plate. It's ready to go in after that. Looks like we'll find out when we get this new engine in. So if you guys like what you see, don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe down below, and stay tuned for the next video. Peace.